Yeah, let me know if you guys can hear me or see me or anything. That was weird. I think I did that for a video and I forgot to turn it back. I think that's been a long way. Yeah, more space. Okay. All right. Well, welcome to the feedback stream. It's Wednesday. I do this every week. I go through people's songs and try to see what's wrong with them, as well as give them feedback and constructive criticism. Trying to make people get better at producing because everyone sucks, even me. I suck. I know I do. But we can all get better together. That's the whole point of this. So, I know a lot of technical things. So looking forward to doing that. Let's get started, shall we? First up, we got Avada. He beat everyone to the race of submitting first. In the subcategory. So let's get it. Go. That was really fucking solid. Great job, Avada. Dude, I can't believe like the progress you've had over the course of less than a year. Like I've only started doing this not even a year ago. And dude, it's like crazy how good you've gotten. Like genuinely. The bass line is really good. You nailed the tones. You have like a nice I don't know what you call it. It sounds like a vowel kind of thing, but it's not overwhelming. And it feels like you did a lot of scooping, which I like scooped kind of sounds, but it's like hard to balance it. But you did it really well in this one. Like this sounds like a proper scooped, not overly distorted song. When people scoop their basses, they compensate for the loss in energy and like mids with distortion. And you didn't overdo the distortion at all, so that's really great. You did a great job. I didn't have much negative feedback for you. Also, my notes thing is fucking like not it's like crashing How does a notepad crash? Like, tell me how that even fucking works. How does my note? Hello, Windows? Holy fucking shit, man. Dude, it's just crashing. What the fuck? Okay, that's cool, man. It's window notepad not responding. Sick, dude. I didn't want to use notepad anyway for my notes. Um, so these are a little bit nitpicky because I'm assuming this is more like a whip, so you're gonna like add a little bit more for like the intro and outro, whatever. Like just kind of polish it up. I always like stuff kind of last when I want to make an intro or outro longer. You know, you kind of do is like that like sweeping pass. I should do a video on that, like polishing songs. Someone write that down. Somebody put that in the server. Polishing songs. You guys want feedback on how to polish songs because there's like so many ways to do that. This is like a good example of like a song that needs to be polished, which, like I said, you're probably gonna do. So the two things that I had feedback for on your song, is the clap. I think you've gotten good at making the claps hit. They're not so kind of washed. They have body, but they're too reverby. I feel like the song is actually kind of dry. As far as it being not like super reverbed and like reverbed and just big sounding. Like it feels like it's in that sweet spot of like not too overly reverbed, but the clap is the only thing that's like standing out. I feel like the clap could sound better if it was drier. So the thing I'm gonna point out is typically with reverb plugins, their mix knob is like a dry wet knob. So when you turn that dry wet knob up, it's turning down the dry signal and turning up the wet signal. So if you have a clap that has like a nice crunchy transient, you're basically turning that down in hopes for the reverb to be louder and more present. That's what that's doing. And with reverb, as you can imagine, it's reverb, so it's things like early reflections and late reflections. It's going to be delayed. It's not going to sound crispy. It's gonna sound washy, like delayed. It's too reverbed. It's not the clap, like the dry clap isn't cutting through enough. I guess you could, if your reverb has like a setting where you can duck it when the dry signal hits, that would be cool. You could sidechain the reverb, I guess, that way. I don't know what plugin does that. Like Valhalla probably doesn't do that. You could also add delay, like pre-delay on the reverb. So the delay itself is literally like it waits a few milliseconds and then plays. You could do that. That could literally fix it. What else? Yeah, I think adding pre-delay will probably be the best bet. If you add pre-delay to your clap, it'll make the dry signal still stand out. But no way, I'd be wrong. It would still turn down the dry signal. It would just make the reverb later. I guess you could just turn down the reverb and do that and then like turn the whole clap up a little bit. So something like that. But as long as you're aware of the problem, the underlying problem, I guess you could make the best judgment on that. But that's that. While I do like your drop a lot, it is missing something. It feels like it's missing some kind of element in there. You got a nice tonal bass. You have everything's mixed pretty nicely. It's just missing something. It's missing some spice. Missing that extra little bit. You're just gonna have to get some inspiration and find what that is because it's just missing something in my head. There's like a million ways I can think of. I don't have like a solution for this because there's so many different solutions you can have. I would spend probably an hour thinking of things you could do and explaining it. This is up to you. It's a creative decision for you. Add something to the drop that makes it unique and cool. I say all the time, a lot of people do the same exact thing you're doing. They're doing rhythm bass, and you don't wanna just fight over making the drums sound really fucking good and making the bass sound really fucking good. Win in other things too. Win in the background effects, win in the melody, win in the motif, win in the rhythm, the arrangement. Try and win in all those other things because nobody else knows how to do those things. That's just as simple as that. There's a lot of people who could probably beat you at basses, but they can't write for shit. There's a lot of people who are better at mixing, but they can't make a good motif. They can't make a good melody. Stuff like that. So, yeah, just make little things on the drop. That would sound cooler. That's all the feedback I have for you, Avada. So, thank you for submitting. Huge progression happening. All right, next up we have Ghidorah. Ghidorah is a newbie, but he's been impressing me a bit. I've been kind of the first one he sent was like really good. And he's got 167 followers. 78 followers. Yeah, thank you, Avada. Hope you enjoyed that. What is up, Mastodon?
And a boy, cause you know me no play. Can't shop me up, me have enough things to say. Real dog gun, we not in a delay. Say we a shot live and we a listen to the gear. Move repeatedly like a smart boss. I got that he a laugh but boss. Not I hate me dead, the rip of it, big green one. I don't feel I hate me dead, the rip of it. Dog dead. Step on a boy, cause you know me no play. Can't shop me up, me have enough things to say. Real dog gun, we not in a delay. Say we a shot live and we a dog dead.
Oh my gosh. Fucking hell.
cause you know me no play. Can't shut me up, me have enough things to say. Real dog gone, we not in a delay. Say we are shot live from we are listen to the gear. Move deadly like a small boss. I got a ratty, I love God boss. Not I hit me dead, you're buffing, dig you what. I don't feel like hit me dead, you're buffing. Dog dead, step on that white, cause you know me no play. Can't shut me up, me have enough things to say. Real dog gone, we not in a delay. Say we are shot live from we are dog dead.
Oh my fucking gosh, man. Fucking fuck. Oh, I'm Vivzy Pop now. I like this quite a bit, but damn, that one bass is just, it's just too much. It's just too much, man. Dude, that bass has so much high end, it's so loud and distorted. It just fucks everything up. And it's weird because all your other basses sound good. They are mixed pretty damn well. But then that bass comes in, it's fucking screaming in my ear. Like, it's overpowering the drums, it's overpowering the cymbals, it's fucking annihilating anything in its path. Like, it sounds like it's just clipping to the master, just fucking destroying everything around it. The solution, turn down that fucking bass or distort it less. You're kind of at a dilemma with this kind of bass because the whole tone is coming from the distortion, but this is a problem with the tonality, the tonal balance of your bass, because the way distortion works is it creates higher harmonics, as a lot of people know, but you can completely change the tone by just shifting which harmonics are louder. So say you are making your little cooker bass, okay? Everybody knows how to make a cooker bass. You have a sine wave at sub level and a sine wave at whatever, like 2 octaves up, maybe 2, 3 octaves, 4 octaves up, like a high pitched sine wave, okay? You have 2 sine waves. You distort those together, you have your cooker bass. But what people don't realize is how much the level of each of those sine waves matter in the tonality. So if you want a more low end, warmer sound, obviously you're going to try and boost the sub up, but it's going to take away the tonality of the higher sub because you're making the lower one just louder. But if you do the opposite, the higher pitch sine wave is going to be more present and distinct and resonant. So you're kind of balancing, but the low end is kind of going to suffer from that. It's not going to be as loud and present. So it's all about balancing which is louder, the low end or the high end. In this case, it sounds like your bass is way too geared towards the low end because everything in the high end sounds like it's being demolished by the sub. So if you turn down the sub before you distort, you'll have a cleaner high end, and the sub won't just be as gritty. You'll have the same kind of textured high end, but the sub won't be so fucking destroyed. What you want to avoid is distorting it so much to where it sounds like a square wave. If your lower harmonics start sounding like a square wave, then you have a problem. You don't want to sound like a square wave. That is really poor sound design. It works in some cases with sound design, but it's almost always a bad idea. It's almost always going to sound over distorted. It's going to sound too pushed. It's just going to sound bad. Like, you're not going to have fun making a bass with that. So just do that, try and see if it works. And then after your main tonal distortion, so the distortion that's giving this bass all of its flavor and harmonics, Then you can push the sub afterwards to kind of compensate for the tonality. Then you can add some minor distortion afterwards to kind of, you know, beef it up, crunch it up, OTT or whatever. And then you have like a good cooker bass. Like your bass would then be have a loud low end, but a nice crisp high end that's not overly saturated. So take that advice, try to do that with this bass, because it is absolutely overpushed. It is absolutely just too much. Yeah, the cooker bass, it has a nice tonality. It's just too distorted, and the sub is just overbearing. And that matters a lot more when you're surrounded with other sounds that aren't like that either. But my general advice is tone it back instead of dialing everything up. It's pretty fucking loud already. Like, that is literally louder than the drums, and that should not be the case. The drums should be the loudest element in your mix, or just as loud as everything else. This is straight up just louder. What else? Okay, so let's go on the other notes that we had. The intro lead, this little lead that's like dotted, it sounds kind of weird. So you have this bass. It's like a rolling bass. Dun 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 dun. It's like eighth notes. I don't know what happened there. That sounds just wrong. What's going on there? You're like, your rolling bass goes lower and then your Reese goes like higher and it's dissonant. I don't know. You need to fix that. That just sounds wrong. Okay, so your lead is playing this pattern. Ba 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 ba. It's doing that kind of thing, but your bass is still rolling in eighth notes. So I'm expecting when the lead is playing that the lead's gonna kind of follow like a standard eighth note kind of grid, but it's not. I feel like misled. It would sound better if that bass was playing dotted notes with it. I feel like that would make the context a bit easier to follow. Or if you're gonna stick with kind of like a straight eighth note pattern, you could emphasize the hit on the dotted notes on the lead. So it goes ba 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 ba. It's like the third note in that lead pattern is dotted. It's like playing a little early. If you can make the bass kind of play faster before the dotted note appears, then I think it would build up the anticipation. So it'd be like dun 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 dun. So you're kind of shaping that rolling bass around that lead a little bit to kind of get that rhythm going. Here I think is another mistake. Your bass is just cutting out. Like I don't know. That it just cuts out. I don't need to say anything else. That's an issue. I think it's just a mistake. It's fine. I like the writing of the song overall. I think it had some good structuring. Everything flowed really nice. I didn't have a single complaint about the way this song played out. All the transitions were good. Everything was good. Dude, the biggest thing is the bass. Like,
Can't drop me up, me have enough things.
my other feedback is on the drums. Your drums sound kind of like old school drum and bass stuff, which it's okay to do old school drum and bass, but it's just overused. And you can make those drums pop out a lot more as well. The transients on the kick and snare in particular, those are just really weak. You could just put a transient processor on that and make it louder, maybe. But those drums really got to stick out. Drum and bass is a really like percussive kind of genre, so getting your drums to sound really snappy and clear will go really far. And drum and bass enthusiasts will appreciate that a lot. Also, you could just layer real drums over this and it would work. If you have any kind of drum set library, just try and add some. Do something cool, do something crazy. It kind of has some basic cymbals and stuff in there, but I'm saying really go in, add some ghost snares, add some tom fills, crashes, open hats, even rim shots could work. But just go nuts with a library if you have some. I know Serum 2 has a drum library you could use for free. So that's all of the feedback I really have for you. I'm not really a fan of this snare either. This sounds like a really old, like Virtual Riot snare. So yeah. Anyways, that's about it for this one. Thank you, Ghidorah, for submitting. Really good shit. We'll move on. Now we have Disintegrate. I just copied his name instead of the link. I'm so smart. Oh, looks like it's been removed. Why? Oh wait, there's another link. This one? Okay, we got it. It's such a short little loop. I'm trying to see what you're wanting for feedback. You said my mixes sound bad or either too quiet on streaming services because if I turn them down, they sound fine and all. But if they're a good loudness for a dubstep track, they got super compressed and sound like shit. Well, that's because you don't really have a master. Actually, it kind of does sound like you have a master. Never mind. Let me get my notes actually ready. Got some nice tones. Okay, there's only so much I can give on feedback for such a short loop. So here's my main points. They also said they've been producing for 5 years since they were 5. Brother, are you 10? Are you 10 years old? I hope I'm reading this right. I don't know if I'm reading this right. Dubstep for 5 years, music since I was like 5. Oh, you've been doing music. Oh, you've been doing music since you were 5, but you've been doing dubstep for 5 years. Okay. You're 17. Okay. Okay, let me get my feedback. Okay, I think that's it. So first of all, your sub is too distorted. It's also sounding like way too disconnected from your tonal bass thing. It sounds like a whole separate sound. Your drop is really empty. There's nothing in the background that's making it shine through, or making it wider or more intense. It's just the bass, the drums, and that's it. There's nothing else. So obviously, add some elements to that, make it sound crazier. The bass is very mono, so that's not a good thing because you want your bass to feel really big and wide and massive. The tonality of the bass is pretty good actually. It's just that it's unfortunately not like big and energetic enough. Yeah, the tonality down, just not as energetic. Don't distort it. All you need to do is add some really short reverb, or perhaps there's probably like some other stereo plugins you can use that make it wider, but add some wideness to it, beef it up, then it sounds a lot better. It sounds mono because you made it in mono. By default, when you open up, like any synth for that matter, you're mainly going to be sticking with one voice. So one voice means it's one channel, but the synth automatically, because when you use like FL and stuff, if something is mono, they put it on both speakers, so you have the same signal on both sides. It's gonna be mono with one voice. You're not gonna make it stereo that way. So if you keep processing it under one voice, you're gonna have that nice gritty sound. It's gonna sound really centered and just kind of bland. The way you beef it up is by adding effects to it. Sometimes you'll get lucky and like the sound process it'll be wide for you, but most of the times you're gonna have to do it manually. So it's adding reverb to it, a very short reverb, very small amount, or that's adding like chorus. I personally use chorus a lot on basses because it sounds good. Or just adding other effects. There's effects like in FL, they have a new spreader VST, which just it makes things wider, and you have like a way to make it mono compatible and all that shit. So it's nice. You have a ton of effects you can do with that stuff. Kilohertz Ensemble is also really good. But try all that stuff. They'll just make it wider and everything way easier. Another thing to note is your cymbals are really quiet. Cymbals are the backbone of your mix. If you want your mix to sound really big and splashy and energetic, cymbals are the way to go. If you just have a kick and snare, it's going to sound really bland, and there's not going to be that much rhythmic elements in there. It's going to sound boring. So add some hi-hats, add some cymbals, make them louder. Really go crazy on the layering. You just have a really basic thing here. So yeah, I think that concludes the feedback here. Thank you, Disintegrate, for submitting. Next up we have Modian. Happy Rhythm. Okay. I think I have everything I want to say. So first impressions, it's a pretty cool idea. You have like this bell ringing in the background, an eerie atmosphere, and like this voice. I don't really know why the voice is bit crushed. I think that kind of goes against the vibe you're going for. Because what I'm going for is like really old, like Western horror. Like I'm in fucking London. Jack the Ripper's gonna slice my asshole open or some shit. But he's a fucking glitch. He's glitching in the Matrix and he's bit crushed. Oh, I don't know what the vibe is for that. I just think the bit crush sounds really cheesy. I think you linger on this idea a little too long. Like it's 30 seconds in. There's nothing that really changes. You kind of have that voice come and go. I want to feel like there's progression, like something is building up to a climax, because you just kind of have a riser and this little quip before you have a fucking loud ass kick in my ear, and then you, excuse me, and then you like start playing the pre-drop bass. So it just needs progression in the intro for me to feel satisfied. And your transitions need a lot of work. Like they just are kind of lazy. Like there's a lot you can do with this, but you just didn't. That's why I said the arrangement in your song is weak. There's not much that's interesting happening in here. And it's just wah 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 wah. It's just getting old. There's no variation in the drop. There's no little fills to make it interesting to break up the minute or not minute, just boring rhythm. I don't even know what the fuck was said there, but okay. That's what I mean. Like, these transitions are just, they're not it. There's no lead up to this voice line. Like, you have all the elements playing before that that vocal hits, and it just pauses. It's like you hit the pause button. Boop. Oh, we're gonna have this guy say something, and we just hit play again. It's so abrupt, and it feels so weird. Yeah, and then your drop ends, and then you just cut back to the intro. And it's the same thing. It's not any different. It's the same church bell playing. The guy's left in the background. You have the eerie atmosphere. It needs some variation, man. It needs something to change. I need to feel like the song is progressing or something. Please. You know, sweep is too loud, by the way. You have the same fake out happening. And the bass the exact same, and you change the rhythm just very slightly. What's up, Kooses? And your bass is like cutting out. Oh, I know why it sounds like this. I just discovered. I just realized. You're using a sample. That's why you're not changing it up. That's why it's the same note. And that's why it sounds like it's cutting out here. So I'll just say it's okay to use samples, okay? It's okay, but you need to know how to fucking do stuff with it. You're just using the basic sample and distorting it or whatever, and then you're playing it as it is. You can add the sample. You can make it sound cooler. You can make it add variation. Simple trick I do when I use samples, like if I'm bouncing something out and I want to pitch it up or something, just split the low end and the high end, and then frequency shift the high end up. So in like an A section, it'll be normal. It's like shifted down or whatever. And then the B section comes in, like frequency shifts it all up or something like that. Or, you know, just add different tones, vowels or whatever. That's the only thing I do is frequency shift the high end. So just do that. Try that. But you still need to fix this cutting out issue because it sounds like the bass is just cutting out like a stuttering, like it's nervous to speak in front of an audience. And when I was okay, another thing is the sub is too loud going into the master. So the reason why I'm saying into the master is because the sub is distorting in the master and it's pushing everything down, and I can hear it because the low end sounds the exact same throughout the entire song. It's just like this really muffled, processed. It sounds like a square wave almost, but it's more probably going to be like a triangle wave because the master is all fucky. You don't want that. You don't want your master to sound like it's a fucking square. You're not SpongeBob Big Guy SquarePants. If you're gonna make this bass, this is sort of do it in the mixer on the actual bass track. Don't fucking do it in the master. The master is a terrible idea to do that in. So you want to keep the master clean. You just want to make the song louder. You don't want to make it add tonality to your song. The whole purpose of the master is to bring out all dynamics and make everything like slide into place, fit together like a puzzle piece. Your kick is struggling for its fucking life. I totally get why you're distorting it so much, because it is struggling so hard. It doesn't know how to cut through the mix. And the reason why it's not is because your sub is fucking destroying everything. It's like you got an EQ, you got a low shelf, and you boosted it before it hit the master. Like, that's fucking why. If you didn't boost the sub so fucking much and distort the master so much, maybe your kick would actually stand out a little bit. So fucking do that, please. And the only exception I have for distorting things into the master are the kick and snare sometimes, but mostly the kick. That's like an okay thing to push hard into the master, I think. But it's gotta sound good, okay? Don't just fucking slam it 20 decibels over like a maniac. And so yeah, the last thing is the bass just gets boring. Like, you just need to get more creative with the way you're writing things. Notice how the second drop is twice as long. You only have one comment, and it's a fucking emoji. So nobody's listening to the second half. People aren't reacting to the first half of that. That's not a good idea. That's not a good sign. I mean, when people are just reacting to your first drop, it's not good. You want people to listen to your second drop too. You want that engagement. Think of long-term engagement. Think of getting married one day, but like to your audience in that kind of way. You want them to stay for the rest of the song and enjoy the whole ride. It would kind of suck if you had a party and people left in the first hour, and then when you play bingo, they all leave, right? That's what this is. Hey guys, how about we play fucking bingo? Yeah, that's a really good idea. We're totally not 80 years old. Anyways, I had my fun. Serious notes. Just follow the notes I had. I think that would help you a lot. And yeah, I'm excited to see you grow and have some killer mixes. Mixes are also like the biggest thing if you want to stand out. If people see that you have a good mix, they will bump you up like crazy. Mixes are highly respected. That's how you get fucking good ass collabs and get signed to labels and shit. They look for good mixing. Anyways, wait, how? Almost 2 years. So you've been producing for 2 years and you made this. So props to you, man. Oh, Vada. Oh, I already did yours. Isol. This Shop Kaijel. Terra Bingo, yeah. I don't even know how you would make tear out bingo. It'd just be normal bingo. Kizzle. Whoa, okay. Oh man, you're not gonna like my feedback, bro. You're not gonna like my fucking feedback. Um, dude, this it's you're okay. Hold on, I need to slow down. What am I gonna get feedback on? Okay, think. Got it. Okay, so you're going for this string orchestral type intro. It's a decent attempt. But admittedly, it is really fucking hard to write orchestral stuff because um a lot of the ways that you hear orchestral music involves so many like tiny details and things you couldn't even think of the way they write stuff. Um like when you think of like an orchestral melody, it's not anything you couldn't do. When you think of like writing, it's not anything you couldn't do, but it just takes a lot of experience. It's one of those things where you just need to write it a lot to get it. And I'm not even good at writing orchestral stuff either. I just don't have enough experience. I need to actually go in and try to make more orchestral stuff because it's too much. Um what they do is they have just a, a fuck ton of instruments, okay? And the way they physically record them is important as well. Um, they have so many mics when they record orchestral music, it's not even fucking funny. If you think having like 100 mics or 100 tracks in your dubstep project is a lot, dude, they have like hundreds more of just recording of that stuff. And then they have a mixing engineer that pans them all left and right. Like it's a whole thing they do. There's a reason why like recording orchestral music for video games or movies is so expensive because it requires so much effort to even set up. So libraries usually try to fix that kind of thing. They add little macros to pan things, make things wider, make it feel like it's closer, further away. They have all these articulations that do a lot of stuff. Um, it hurts to say, but Kontakt libraries are the only way you can make orchestral stuff. It's just the only way. You can't make anything without spending a lot of money doing orchestral shit. That's just how it is. So get some good orchestral libraries a very legal way. Make sure to do that. It sucks. Yeah. The best thing you can do is to just look up how that music is made. You need to do some research on how they like make everything and what kind of melodies they make because it's just annoying. And don't even get me started on mixing. Mixing is just a whole other shebang. It's better you leave it dry without adding that much effects than actually attempting to fix everything. So yeah, this string is too loud. That is that cello. The cello's too loud. It needs to be turned down. Everything is going and nothing is going to be the center of attention. You're not going to have one instrument that stands out above all of them. They're all going to mesh into like this one sound. When you think of like a melody, like the Pirates of the Caribbean melody, that that's like fucking a billion strings, man. That's like 3, 4, 5 sections of different ensembles playing that rhythm, and you can't even conceptualize that. So it's like a fuck ton of different shit. Yeah, that's fair. If you're adding like the same reverb, that's totally fair. Just make sure, I would say try to use a convolver of like a room, like a large room. Kilohertz Convolver has libraries for like large rooms like that, like cathedrals or whatever. I wouldn't say use a cathedral, but like just a large recording room, something like that. Yeah, my biggest feedback, dude, is just the library is not that great. Like, especially these voices, this like choir thing. By the way, it's not, they don't use choirs. They're not using a fucking choir. This is like a church choir, like you would go to fucking Sunday service and they'd be singing. It's not that. It's like, this is like a proper, like a lot more than a choir at church. Like a choir at church is like 10 people. The recording of these kind of like cinematic ones have way more voices. Have you seen like recordings of actual like soundtracks for voices? They have, it's like a imagine like an entire venue, almost like a Rampage venue, like all the people in those rows, imagine they're all singers and they're all singing the same thing. That's like how big it is compared to a fucking like small church choir. Yeah, that's all the feedback I really have for this. Your writing is good, but you just need to do your own research on how to make everything fit together. It's just, you want it to be more people, so you want to make it sound like it's further away, if that makes sense. If you can gear towards it sounding further away and less close, then you'll be golden. Yeah, it sucks because it's really just getting the library. That's it. Also, when you're using Kontakt libraries, make sure you're reading the manual for those libraries. Kontakt has its own thing, but every library is different, and they have different ways you can use articulations. Look up all the tutorials you can, all the information you can, because those small little articulations mean a lot. Changing the velocity, the keystrokes, or in like a violin case, they have different articulations, so they'll have like a staccato, pizzicato, or spiccato. If you know what those are, then good for you. But a lot of people don't. They don't know what a tremolo is a lot of times. The sustained ones, short notes, there's a fuck ton. And using the effects is really important too. That's why I said listen for actual like cinematic pieces and see when they have those not so common sounds. Because of course, when you think of cinematic music, you think of that long sustained horn sound or violin sound. But you don't actually think of all the little intricate things that are in the middle or spread out or decorated with. So just do research on when they use those and how they use those. It's just going to save you a lot of time. But yeah, that's all the pick I have for you. Thank you, Kaisel, for submitting. Fucking shit. Now we have Rust. One conceptual problem I had was we know what instruments ancient Greeks used, but we have no records for their arrangement or melodies. Had to guess a lot of. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say try to go for what they used back then. You want to kind of add that modern sound to it because a lot of instruments they had back then were kind of shit, not gonna lie. Like a lot of instruments back then were really shit. And we have the pleasure of having a bunch of good shit today. So just try to get inspired off the feel and like a bit more modern stuff, like in the 19th, 20th century era. All right, Rust. You have pitch bend on the guitar. Okay. So you've been producing for 1 year, and you have a little story for me. You said, I've sent this track to 7 labels now, and six of them have only ever told me they don't like the vibes. Ooh, they don't like the vibes of the track. Other artists I asked either have no feedback or give me things I've corrected. I've still made no progress. I'm at a loss on what's wrong with the track at this rate. Brother, when they say vibes, that means they don't know what's wrong with it. They just don't like it, and it fucking sucks. They probably have an AR guy, and he doesn't know anything about music, just knows uh what his audience likes. Um so he's not gonna judge much on the quality of the sound. You just gotta impress him, but you're blind on how to impress him. That's what fucking sucks. Um I also hate the term vibe when people say, "Wow, that song has a cool vibe." Like you're saying nothing. You're saying that song has a cool. Like what? Hello, vibe. Doesn't even, that's meaningless. It's meaningless to say that. I hate that word because it's just it means nothing. It literally fucking means nothing. Like just don't say anything at all. Just say the song is. And that would be the same fucking thing. Um my interpretation of vibe, like what I think of someone says vibe is like it's much more nuanced. Like it's too nuanced of a word for people to just be throwing it around because it's such a cop out. But when I think of vibe, I think of like the feel of the track. Like when it's kind of hard to put into words, but when I close my eyes and I hear a song, if I were to just sensory deprivation, just close my eyes, listen to a song, I'm like alone. I can imagine myself in a setting. I can imagine myself in a scenario. There is also sometimes that song would feel like it would be better in different settings. So, if I'm fucking in a car looking out the window, maybe I feel like the vibe would be to play something more chill or something more melodic. If I'm at a really like a scary place or like a festival, then yeah, harder music would sound totally cool. If I'm working out, that's like the vibe. Like the vibe is big energy. That's what I think of when I think of vibe. But it's different for everybody. So it it just sucks. You've already given more than any of the A&Rs and 3 of the producers, which is sad. Yeah, well, I mean, I am doing a feedback stream. When I give feedback, I try to get people to, enjoy my feedback and do something with it. So I'm kind of am trying hard to give good feedback. So, I mean, here it is. So, I don't know about this sub on the intro on this guitar. Uh, it sounds a little weird. On your guitar though, I know you're doing this thing because traditionally on guitar cabinets, they don't have much high end. It seems like it just rolls off at fucking like 5K, 10 or 8K hertz, and you're like, how to make it sound brighter? It sounds like shit. And then you like over distort it to try to add that high end back. Trust me, it is a lost cause. You're not gonna get that high end back really. I sometimes do it by either layering or I will just distort the high end just a little bit. I'll use like Saturn or something, Saturn 2, and just put warm tape on the high end and just add a little bit of it back. But you're playing a dangerous game when you're trying to add all that high end back, because the only way you can get that high end is if you add harmonics. So you're just gonna add the distorted buzzing sound. It's gonna sound annoying. So don't over distort the high end. You can add a little bit up there, but definitely don't hard clip it. You want to be kind of rounded and softer. Another thing, these drums are fucking terrible. It's just, I have no words. These drums are terrible. Just replace them. You should totally legally get a metal drum library and use that. But these drums are just not good. My general advice is stick away or to stick with metal drums. Try not to use dubstep drums. So you kind of did that, but the tone of them is totally wrong. When people make metal drums, it has a lot more room than you think it does. When I say room, I'm talking about reverb, because when you record a drum set, they record it in they choose what room they want to record. So it can be like a small studio room, kind of like a larger room to capture the reverb and light reflections, all that shit. But they have like 5 or 6 mics at least. So they have the direct mic on each of the drum heads. So like you'll have a kick drum head, you'll have a kick sub. So you'll have like a mic position where it has the most sub, the mic position where the actual drum head gets hit for the transient. Then you'll have the overhead, so that's like above the drums to capture kind of like the cymbals. That's more for the cymbals. Then you'll have like the room mic, and then some other minor mics like just around it. It can be like pan to the right of the cymbals or the left of the cymbals to capture like a ride or a certain crash or the hi-hat better. But they're all layered into one. So when you grab a sample, you're basically taking a already very processed sound. And if you grab a sample from another library, you're taking a completely differently processed way. So maybe your snare has like 5 recordings comped over, and it's like all smashed into one sample, and then your kick sample only has 2 or 3 recordings of the kick in a totally different room with a totally different drum set, completely different processing, everything. So you're like mismatching your drum samples, so it just sounds really weird and inconsistent. One sample sounds really roomy and big and thick, the other one sounds really dry and kind of mono. If you can find a drum kit online that is all recorded in the same room, that would probably be better. Even if it kind of sounds shit, it's better than having it sound like this, because the way you think of drums in metal music is a lot different than you think of it in EDM. Drum or metal music it only really gives a fuck about like the transient and the feel of the drum. So you don't really care about the transient of the kick, you just care about the low end and how it feels. Or how long it lasts, a room. The snare, you just care about how much it pops in the mix, and if you can hear it or not, basically. Whereas dubstep, you think about the tonality a lot and the high end, and the punchiness of the kick. You think of the drums a lot more than you do in metal. That's what I'm saying. So just find a new drum kit to put over this. Preferably, it would be like a Kontakt library, because then you have control over the velocity of the drums, so you can make it sound like it's quieter or louder depending on the velocity you put in the piano roll. That would be the preferred way, but you can't always have that because there's like a fucking $1 billion, and they're like 500 gigabytes. So also, the drums are too loud. Metal drums are mixed much quieter. You can find some legal drum kits online, I'm sure. Or if you want to be silly and goofy, get a field mic, go to Guitar Center and try to record something. You can do that too, I guess, but I don't know how quality that would be. I don't like the transition into this really overblown kick. This kick is way too fucking distorted. They're absolutely not too quiet in the intro. They are too loud. No, this is not trap. This is tear out. Absolutely not. It has a clap, doesn't mean it's a fucking trap. Don't bring the drama. What drama is there with with this being trap. Okay, the clap has too much mids. You want your clap to be kind of like in that mid range, but it's too much and it's too loud. I think the reverb's fine, everything else is fine. Just fix that part. Your kick is way too fucking clipped. Change the kick. It's dog shit. The bass tone needs variation. It's just kind of like the same noisy tone over and over again. So if you can find a way to make it more tonal and then pitch it around or do something crazy. The whole song just sounds kind of generic to me. It sounds like the notes are just playing whatever. There's not much thought about the rhythm. And it's just doing it. Like a million people have done this thing. I think your song needs a better hook. It needs a motif that will pique people's interest in what's going to happen next. Motif, just look up what that is. I'm not going to explain again. Try to find out how to make those, how to write good hooks. They're going to be all kind of like about melodies, but it's about the same message. I like the second drop more because it feels different. Like it feels like it has some interesting elements of it. I like how the bass has like this decaying sound, like it's the volume's dipping over time. It sounds kind of cool. I like that part. Excuse me. Demons Above A&R said to me, "We don't take Death Trap for this track," which is just hilarious. That is, I don't know what the fuck is Death Trap. Hello? If this is Death Trap, then Astaroth makes Death Trap. There's no fucking way. Holy fucking Popamonia. Is that Death Trap? I thought the trap was centered around like an 808. Am I wrong? Like a bang, not a fucking gun bass, but whatever. That's my feedback for you, Rust. So thank you for schnanden. Next up we have Sarva. Thank you for submitting, by the way. What is hit that? Fuck kind of link did you send me? Of course, thank you. Oh my fucking fuck. Oh, my Vizzy Pop came out. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't hear that. Oh my gosh. What the fuck? Bro, what am I doing? Ah! Oh my. Oh my. I'm sorry, I can't. Dude, even the impact was distorting. Dude, the loudest fucking drop of all time, and then your little piss ass guitars are gonna be this quiet. Are you for real? Oh, wait, I kind of like that fake out. Fucking hell, man. Is my guitar loop? Make it louder, man. What the hell? Or actually, a cool idea was if you like made it really reverbed. Maybe that could be better. If you're gonna make it this quiet. Okay, dude, this is the obvious thing. This fucking snare. Holy fucking shit. Dude, it's a build-up. It's not supposed to be the loudest part of the entire fucking song. That shit is ear-piercing. And you don't have anything leading up to it, so it's just a very abrupt, sudden... Like, you prepare... You're gonna lip up my ears before you fuck it like that, man. What the fuck? How loud do you have your PC interface volume on? It's not that loud. It's like half volume, and in SoundCloud it's like only 80%. So it's not that loud, but it's like normal volume. But fuck. Like even at half volume for this, it's so fucking loud. And also, it's about contrast. If you have a really quiet part before it and it's really loud, like instantaneously, it's not gonna sound that good. Especially when everything in this section doesn't really have that much high end, and then your snare is full of fucking high end, fucks my little tight ears. It's different in the drop because the drop, you have something balancing it out. You have a low end in there, and everything around the drop is already loud, and you're kind of already just given that it's gonna be loud. So you just get used to it being loud, and you're like, yeah, this is cool, nice. The energy is really nice and big, cool. Fuck it. This build up, you can just make the snares quieter. You could just do it on the snares, that's it, and it would sound better. You could actually just build up the volume. Just make the volume quieter in this part, or add a low pass, sweep it up, and then it'll sound fine. Okay, so I think your master is too loud. I can definitely tell you're going for that stag kind of sound. I can totally tell. Um, I kind of like it. It's just too loud for me. I think stag's music is too loud. Uh, you're better off having nicer dynamics where you're not constantly fighting with yourself. And you can make your drums punch through easier. You can make your bass more dynamic and not have to be this loud. Like you're having to overcompensate for everything if you want to add something. If you were to feedback in here that says add more tonality to your bass. If you were to add more tonality to your bass, you would have to work so hard to make it sound good with this distorted of a master. And your sound design is also really distorted, but you just have to work way harder to even get to that level. And you don't want it to be like that. It's just less of a problem for you. Yeah, I think you're relying too much on bias and distorting the low end as well. Now, I think the song structure is actually pretty boring. There's not much variation. That's the problem with having this loud of a master and your sounds being pushed this hard. The sounds do sound good, but it's just you can't do much with it. You can't add that much tonality. You can't do you can't pitch it up or anything. It's just kind of like low end and then white noise. But the white noise is just a bit more metallic sounding, like with all passes or whatever the fuck. So, it's just kind of handicapping yourself. This ain't as clean of an execution, perhaps, but yeah, I was going for that Secrecy Nimda sound. Okay, this totally sounds more like a stag song than either of those. Nimda's really dry sound design. He kind of does the same distortion as you, but he doesn't do bias. He does like regular distortion and doesn't push it as hard as you do. So like you're using probably either reverb filter or all passes to get that sound, and you are playing the sound without those processes in the VST. You're like writing down the notes and you're processing it like that. Whereas Nimda, he has a much tighter gun sound, like much tighter, drier. I suspect that he bounces out his audio and just plays with it in audio form. So when you're writing stuff in a VST, especially when you have things like reverb or all passes on it where it has decay even when the note is off. So like if you have a really short note and it decays past that note length, then you have to deal with overlap. So you have a really fast gun line that goes like something like that. All the reverb is gonna just bleed over into the next note. The reverb from the first note is gonna bleed into the last note, basically. And that's that can sound cool, but it could sound cooler if you bounced it out so that it wouldn't bleed over into every single note, and then the transient would sound sharper, and it would sound just more dry and just less messy, I guess. This sound design is really messy, and the way to get around that is to bounce it out and then cut it up. That's what I think you could do to make it more cohesive and not so kind of like sloshy. People like this kind of sloshy sound though, so I don't know. But when it sound more like Nimda, that's probably what he does. Also, Nimda has a lot of tonality in his basses, so. I like your fills. I like the second fake out. I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah, just follow that general advice, and I think you would make something a lot better and cooler sounding. So, thank you. you for submitting, Sarva. Hope you can submit more. We're on to Vexidus. Oh, I remember this one. Okay. I can't remember what it sounded like before. You sent me this in a previous stream, and I can't remember what the last one sounded like. But guessing that I didn't have that many notes, I think you succeeded a little bit. So I think it helped a little bit. Usually more of a rhythm guy. Well, it was a good fucking attempt, Sarva. Send some more. Yeah, the basses sound a little too scooped still. I can hear the mids, so it does sound better. I can hear more of the mids. You need to boost it up and make it a little bit louder. And also, it could be a balance thing where your bass just might have too much high end in comparison to the mids. So you could probably turn down the harshness a little and see if that helps it. In the two minor things I had, the kick needs a bit of a boost in its transient. The kick sounds fine. Yeah, the bass on the stereo, or the stereo on the bass. Very good. Yeah, sounds fine. Sounds good. Good job on that. The kick transient, if you can find a transient shaper like Kiloheart's transient shaper, or if you have the built-in FL1 or some Melda plugin, just make the transient a little bit sharper on the kick. You want the transient to stand out on the kick a little bit more. And the clap is still a little bit piercing. It's still like at the 1K to 2K hertz range where I think it should be toned down. But that's literally all it needs, just a little bit toned down. And I think it sounds good. I think overall, you might be distorting things a little too much as well. Like, on your master, are you doing a lot? It might be worth turning everything off the master and like redoing the master if it's causing it to be like this, because it sounds like it's too distorted but not enough. I think your writing is good on this. It's totally fine, acceptable. Um, it literally just needs those notes. Clip on the master. Oh, okay. So for clippers, uh, literally just use it to clip off the transients of the kick. You want to intentionally clip the transients because transients of the kick and snare are just going to be kind of noisy anyways, so it's not going to change much about it. But you want to mainly affect the very top. Like imagine you're shaving like your hair. You want to just affect the tallest bits of it. Okay. Anything else? Try to leave that to a limiter. You want the limiter to be the last thing in your master chain. But yeah, that's really it. Thank you, Vexodus, for submitting. Good shit. You're on the right page. All right, and last feedback of the day. Your clipper should be the first thing in your master chain. Usually, you want to just shave off the whole purpose is that you want to shave off the transients that are really peeking out, and the whole idea is to make it easier for your limiter to digest. If the more uniform your master is for the limiter, the easier it's going to be on the limiter, and the limiter will react better. You don't want a really loud transient to trigger the limiter, and if the limiter has a bit of a release, it's gonna fuck up everything. Like your song is gonna be ducked for however long that release is, depending on how loud the transient was. So that's the whole point of that. Yes, you're welcome, Vexodus. All right, we have who the fuck is this? Why Naga? Okay. Interesting name. Oh, it's just my name backwards. What the fuck is this? Just use your username. Wow, I just turned Copilot on. Why'd I do that? Okay. That was pretty damn good. I don't have much to say about that. Your snare could use a little bit more high end, just a tad bit. The intro just needs work to be better. The sub just needs to stand out a little bit more. Like, if you can lower the harmonics of that sub a little bit, I think it would sound great. Just perfect. It's like almost exactly what I want it to be. But yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this. I think you implemented all my previous feedback really well. And yeah, really happy with this result. So yeah, thank you guys. That's the last one we're doing. So for those that have stopped by, make sure to check out the stream every Wednesday. And I can give you the best feedback in the world. Hey guys, goodbye.